They say you can't put a price on freedom. I sold mine for $847. Zero. That's what it cost to keep my father breathing, what it cost to clear the medical debt that would have buried us both. And the man who paid it? Lucian Draven. Cold. Dangerous. A ghost in an expensive suit who looked at me like I was a problem he needed to solve. He didn't ask me to marry him. He told me. And God help me, I said yes. Now, I live in a mansion that feels like a mausoleum, married to a man I don't know, bound by a contract I can't escape. Everyone here looks at me with pity, like I'm already dead. Maybe I am. Because the worst part, I'm starting to think my husband didn't just buy me. I think he's been watching me my entire life. If you want to know what dark secrets are hiding behind that locked door, what Lucian is really protecting me from, and how this twisted marriage becomes something I never expected, hit that like button and subscribe right now. This story gets darker, more dangerous, and more addictive with every twist. Trust me, you won't see the ending coming. The day I met Lucian Draven, I was wearing my brother's jacket and hadn't slept in 36 hours. My father had collapsed at the grocery store. Cardiac arrest, the paramedic said. Like those two words could explain why a 59-year-old man dropped between the bread aisle and the frozen peas. They revived him, barely, and now he was hooked up to machines that beeped and whirred, keeping him tethered to a life I couldn't afford. The hospital bills came fast. $68,000 for the emergency surgery, another $120,000 for the ICU stay. Then the cardiologist recommended a transplant. $500,000, maybe more, and that wasn't counting the anti-rejection drugs he'd need for the rest of his life. I had $4,200 in my bank account and a master's degree in psychology that qualified me to work part-time at a trauma clinic for $22 an hour. I was drowning. So when the hospital administrator called me into her office and told me someone had paid the entire bill, all of it, plus 6 months of projected care, I thought it was a mistake. There's no mistake, she said, sliding a business card across her desk. But he'd like to meet you. The card was black, matte, no company name, just a phone number embossed in silver. I should have thrown it away. I called it instead. A woman answered, crisp, professional, like she was reading from a script. Miss Duval, Mr. Draven has been expecting your call. He'll meet you at Aurelio's tonight at 8. Come alone. Wait, I don't even know who... She hung up. Aurelio's was the kind of restaurant where you needed a reservation 6 months in advance and a trust fund to cover the wine list. I showed up in jeans and my brother Noah's leather jacket, the one I'd worn to his funeral 3 years ago, the one that still smelled faintly of his cologne. The host took one look at me and frowned. Do you have a reservation? I'm meeting Lucian Draven. His expression shifted instantly. Fear? Respect? I couldn't tell. He led me through the dining room, past tables of people in designer clothes who didn't even glance up, and into a private room at the back. That's where I saw him. Lucian Draven sat alone at a table set for two, a glass of red wine untouched in front of him. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car, and his dark hair was pushed back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp jaw, high cheekbones, and eyes so pale gray they looked almost silver in the low light. He didn't stand when I entered. Didn't smile, just watched me with the kind of focus that made my skin prickle. Miss Duval, he said. His voice was low, measured. Sit. It wasn't a request. I sat. You paid my father's medical bills, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Why? Because I needed your attention. You could have just called. Would you have answered? Probably not. I studied him, trying to figure out what he wanted. He didn't look like a philanthropist. He looked like a man who collected debts. What do you want from me? He leaned back in his chair, still watching me with those unsettling eyes. I want you to marry me. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Excuse me? You heard me? I don't even know you. You don't need to. My laughter died. He was serious, completely, terrifyingly serious. This is insane, I said, standing up. Thank you for helping my father, but I'm not... Sit down, Marcelline. Something in his tone made me freeze. He knew my full name, My real name, the one I never used because it reminded me too much of my mother, who died when I was 7. I sat down slowly. How do you know my name? I know a lot about you. I know you graduated summa cum laude from Columbia. I know you work at St. Augustine's Trauma Clinic. I know you take the subway home every night and stop at the bodega on 9th Street to buy green tea and those terrible blueberry muffins. He paused. I know your brother died 3 years ago, and you still wear his jacket because you think it keeps you safe. My blood ran cold. You've been following me. I've been protecting you. From what? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document, sliding it across the table. A marriage contract, he said. The terms are simple. You marry me, live in my home, appear at my side when required. In exchange, your father receives the best medical care available indefinitely. You'll have access to an account with $50,000 per month for personal expenses. After 1 year, if you wish to leave, you may do so with a settlement of $2 million. I stared at the document without touching it. This is prostitution. This is a business arrangement. What do you get out of it? A wife? Why me? Because you're the only one I trust. You don't even know me. His expression didn't change. I've known you since you were 16 years old, Marcelline. I know you better than you know yourself. The room felt too small suddenly, the air too thin. This is insane. I'm not going to... Your father has 6 months, maybe less, without a transplant. The waiting list is 3 years long. He stood, buttoning his jacket with precise movements. I can have him at the top of that list by tomorrow morning, or I can walk away and you can watch him die knowing you could have saved him. He was blackmailing me. Not with threats, but with hope. I hated him for it. I need time to think, I whispered. You have until midnight. My driver will wait outside your apartment. If you get in the car, we'll be married by morning. If you don't... He paused at the door. Say goodbye to your father. Then he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I paced my tiny apartment, Noah's jacket wrapped around me like armor, trying to figure out what kind of man pays $1 million to marry a stranger, trying to figure out why he'd chosen me. At 11:47 p.m., I grabbed my bag and walked outside. A black Mercedes waited at the curb, engine running, exhaust curling into the cold night air. The driver got out, a mountain of a man in a dark suit, and opened the back door without a word. I thought about running. I thought about my father, alone in that hospital bed, his heart struggling with every beat. I got in the car. We were married at 3 a.m. in a courthouse in New Jersey by a judge who looked half asleep and didn't ask questions. Lucian slid a platinum band onto my finger. It fit perfectly, like he'd known my ring size, and signed the marriage license with the kind of signature that suggested he'd done this before. Maybe he had. You can sleep in the car, he said as we left the courthouse. It's a long drive. Where are we going? Home. Home turned out to be a mansion in Westchester County, hidden behind iron gates and tall hedges that blocked it from the road. The house itself was modern, all glass and sharp angles, lit from within like a jewel box. Beautiful. Empty. The driver carried my single suitcase inside, and Lucian led me through a foyer with marble floors and a chandelier that probably cost more than my entire education. Your room, he said, opening a door on the second floor. It was bigger than my old apartment. King-sized bed, walk-in closet, private bathroom with a tub the size of a small pool. Where's your room? I asked. Down the hall. You won't see much of me. I work late. What do you do? He looked at me for a long moment. Import and export? It was a lie. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes went flat and cold. There's one rule, he said. Never go into the West Wing. That area is off limits. Why? Because I said so. He left before I could argue, and I heard a lock click somewhere down the hall. I sat on the edge of the bed in my new prison and wondered what the hell I'd just done. The first week was surreal. I barely saw Lucian. He left before I woke up and came home long after I'd gone to bed, or tried to. I heard him sometimes, moving through the house like a ghost, and once I thought I heard voices, low and urgent, coming from somewhere below. The staff, a housekeeper named Rosa and a chef named Marcus, were polite but distant. They answered my questions with yes or no, never volunteering information, never meeting my eyes for too long. How long have you worked here? I asked Rosa once. 7 years, ma'am. Have there been other wives? She looked genuinely confused. No, ma'am, just you. I explored the house during the day, memorizing its layout. The main floor had a living room no one used, a dining room that could seat 20, a library with first editions behind glass. The second floor had 6 bedrooms, all empty except mine. And at the end of the east hallway, there was a door. Heavy, steel reinforced, with a keypad lock that blinked red when I got close. The West Wing. I tried the code once. My birthday, Noah's birthday, random combinations. But nothing worked. The door stayed locked, keeping its secrets. On the 8th day, I met Anton. I was in the library, trying to distract myself with a book I wasn't reading when he walked in. Younger than Lucian, maybe 30, with the same sharp features but warmer coloring. Where Lucian was ice, Anton was fire, dark eyes that crinkled when he smiled, which he did immediately upon seeing me. So, you're the mysterious wife, he said, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. I'm Anton, Lucian's considerably more charming younger brother. Marcy, I said, standing automatically. I didn't know he had a brother. Lucian doesn't like to share information, possessions. His gaze flickered over me. Wives. There was something in the way he said it that made me uncomfortable, but I couldn't pinpoint why. Does he know you're here? I asked. I don't need my brother's permission to visit my own home. I grew up here, you know, before Lucian kicked me out. He moved closer, studying the bookshelf with casual interest. Has he told you anything about himself, about what he does? Import and export, I said carefully. Anton laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Is that what he's calling it now? That's rich. What does he really do? He turned to face me, and for a moment, something dark flickered across his features. Then the charming smile was back. Ask him yourself. But I doubt he'll tell you the truth. Lucian doesn't trust anyone, not even his own wife. Then why did he marry me? That's the question, isn't it? Anton moved toward the door, then paused. A word of advice, Marcy. Be careful around my brother. He's not the man he pretends to be. And whatever he's told you about protecting you? He looked back at me, his expression suddenly serious. Ask yourself what he's protecting you from, or if maybe you need protection from him. He left before I could respond, and I stood there in the empty library, my heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. That night, I had the first nightmare. I was back in our old apartment, the cramped one-bedroom Noah and I had shared after our mother died. I could smell his cologne, hear his laugh from the other room, but when I walked toward his voice, the apartment stretched impossibly long, the hallway extending into darkness. Noah! I called. Marcy, run! His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I started running, but the hallway kept stretching, and now I could hear footsteps behind me. Heavy, deliberate, getting closer. I turned a corner and found myself in an alley I didn't recognize. Noah was there, on his knees, blood pooling around him, and standing over him, holding a gun. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. It was 3 a.m. The house was silent except for my ragged breathing. I got up, needing water, needing air, needing anything to shake the images from my head. The kitchen was dark when I entered, but I saw him immediately. Lucian sat at the island, a glass of whiskey in front of him, still wearing his suit from whatever he'd been doing all night. He didn't look surprised to see me. Bad dream? He asked quietly. How did you... You're not the only one who can't sleep in this house. I poured myself water with shaking hands, very aware of his eyes on me. In the dim light, he looked different, tired, almost human. Your brother came by today, I said. His expression hardened instantly. What did he want? To meet me, to tell me I should be afraid of you. You should listen to him. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and honest and terrifying. Then why did you marry me? I whispered. Lucian stood, moving around the island until he was close enough that I could see the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke. "Because," he said softly, "you're the only thing in this world I can't afford to lose." Before I could ask what that meant, he was gone, leaving me alone in the dark kitchen with more questions than ever. The nightmares came every night after that, always the same. Noah in that alley, blood, footsteps, and sometimes, at the edge of my vision, a man with pale gray eyes watching from the shadows. I started researching during the day. Lucian Draven, the Draven syndicate, New York organized crime. I found almost nothing. A few society page photos from charity events, a mention in a business journal about real estate acquisitions, but no arrests, no scandals, nothing that explained the locked doors and the frightened staff and the way people looked at me when I mentioned his name. On the 14th day, I met Sophia. She arrived without warning, walking into the dining room while I was having breakfast like she owned the place. Maybe she did. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that missed nothing, her black hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. "So, you're the wife," she said, not bothering with introductions. She poured herself coffee and sat across from me, studying me like I was a puzzle she was trying to solve. "And you are?" "Sophia Morello, Lucian's cousin, also his intelligence analyst, which is a fancy way of saying I know where all the bodies are buried." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Literally. "Does everyone in this family just walk in unannounced?" "This isn't a family. It's a syndicate, and you're—" She tilted her head. "An interesting addition." "I don't know what that means." "Neither do I. That's what makes it interesting." She leaned back, still watching me with that unnerving intensity. "Lucian doesn't do anything without a reason. He doesn't feel anything without a reason. And he's never, in the 15 years I've known him, shown interest in any woman. Then suddenly, he marries you." She paused. "Why?" "He said he needed a wife." Bullshit. Lucian could have married anyone, models, heiresses, women who understand this world. Instead, he chose a trauma counselor with student debt and a dead brother. Her eyes narrowed. "Tell me about your brother." My stomach dropped. What does Noah have to do with anything? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. How did he die? Drug overdose, 3 years ago. He was 25. And the police report? Said he bought bad heroin from a dealer in Brooklyn. They never found who sold it to him. Sophia was quiet for a moment, her fingers drumming against her coffee cup. Did Noah use drugs regularly? No, never. He worked 2 jobs. He was saving up for culinary school. My voice cracked. He wouldn't have. I know he wouldn't have. Then why did the police say he did? I don't know. The detective, Hale, I think her name was, she said sometimes people hide things, that I didn't know him as well as I thought. Sophia's expression shifted, something like recognition crossing her face. "Detective Erin Hale?" "Yes, you know her?" "Everyone in our world knows Erin Hale. She's been trying to take down the Draven syndicate for 6 years." Sophia stood, her coffee abandoned. "I need to go, but Marcy, don't trust anyone in this house. Not Anton, not me, and especially not your husband." "Wait, what does my brother have to do with Lucian?" But she was already gone, leaving me alone with a cold breakfast and a growing sense of dread. That night, I decided I'd had enough of secrets. Lucian came home late, as always. I heard him in his study, heard the low murmur of phone calls, the clink of glass against wood. At midnight, I heard his footsteps in the hall, heard his door close. I waited an hour. Then I left my room, wearing dark clothes, my heart hammering against my ribs. The West Wing door glowed red in the darkness, its keypad blinking steadily. I'd been watching Rosa, and I'd seen her enter a code once when she thought I wasn't looking. 8274, I typed it in, holding my breath. The light turned green. The lock clicked open. I pulled the door open and stepped inside, into a darkness that smelled of paper and metal and something else. Something copper. Blood. I found a light switch and flipped it. The room was an office, or an archive. The walls were covered in corkboards, photographs pinned in clusters, strings connecting them in patterns I couldn't follow. Maps, documents, surveillance photos, and, in the center of it all, a photograph that made my blood run cold. Noah. He was younger in the photo. Maybe 22, standing outside a building I didn't recognize, but he wasn't alone. There were other men in the photo, their faces circled in red marker, and written across the bottom in sharp handwriting, witnesses. My hands shook as I moved closer, studying the other boards. More photos of Noah, outside our apartment, at his restaurant job, getting into a car with someone whose face was circled. Anton Draven. Anton. Noah knew Anton. I moved to the desk, rifling through papers with growing panic, autopsy reports, toxicology results, police statements, and a file labeled Duval Noah Asset Compromise. Asset compromise. Like he was a thing, not a person. I opened the file and started reading, and with every page, the room seemed to tilt further off its axis. Noah hadn't died of an overdose. He'd been murdered, poisoned with a drug cocktail designed to look like heroin, and according to the report, written by someone with the initials LD, he'd been killed because he'd witnessed something he shouldn't have. A drug shipment, a murder, Anton. My brother had seen Anton Draven kill someone, and Anton had killed him to keep him quiet. And Lucian knew. The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattering across the floor. I bent to pick them up and froze. At the bottom of the pile was a photograph. Lucian, younger but unmistakable, standing in an alley. His shirt was soaked in blood. And in his hand, still lit, was Noah's phone, the one with the yellow case I'd given him for his birthday. The caption read, "Crime scene. Confirmed arrival post-mortem." Post-mortem. After death. But that didn't make sense. If Lucian arrived after, why was he covered in blood? Why did he have Noah's phone? You weren't supposed to see that. I spun around. Lucian stood in the doorway, still wearing his suit from dinner, his expression unreadable. He didn't look angry. He looked resigned. "Did you kill my brother?" My voice came out as a whisper. He stepped into the room, and I backed up instinctively, hitting the desk. "No." "Then why?" I gestured at the photo, at the blood, at the evidence of everything he'd hidden from me. "Why is this here? Why do you have all of this?" "Because I've been trying to prove who really killed him." "Anton," I said, the name tasting like poison. "Noah saw him kill someone. Anton killed Noah to silence him." Lucian's jaw tightened. "Yes. And you knew. You've known this whole time, and you married me anyway, and you let me smile at him, let him into this house. I married you because of it." He moved closer, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. "Anton doesn't know that I know. He doesn't know your brother took a video before he died. He doesn't know that Noah sent that video to someone before Anton could destroy the phone." "Who?" "Me." The room spun. "What?" "Your brother was smart. When he realized what he'd seen, he looked up who might be able to help him. He found me, sent me the video, asked for protection." Lucian's voice was flat, emotionless, but his hands were clenched into fists. "I was too late. By the time I got there, Anton had already—" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. "The blood," I whispered, "in the photo. I tried to save him. I called the ambulance. I stayed with him until—" He closed his eyes briefly. "Until he died. I took his phone before the police arrived because I knew if Anton found it, he'd destroy the only evidence." "Why didn't you go to the police?" His laugh was bitter. "I am the head of a criminal organization, Marcelline. The police would have arrested me for being at the scene, and Anton would have walked free." "So you married me instead. To what? Keep me safe? To use me as bait?" "To keep you alive." He finally looked at me, really looked at me, and the raw emotion in his face stole my breath. "Anton has spent 3 years trying to figure out if Noah told anyone what he saw. He's been watching you, waiting to see if you know anything. The moment you became my wife, you became untouchable. As long as you're under my protection, he can't kill you without declaring war on me. So I'm a shield." "You're the only person in this world I've ever tried to protect." He moved closer still, until we were inches apart. Your brother's last words were your name. He begged me to keep you safe, so I have. I've watched you for 3 years, making sure Anton's people never got close. And when I realized he was getting suspicious when I saw him starting to circle you again, I did the only thing I could think of. You married me. I married you. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. Instead, I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since I'd first seen his face across that restaurant table. Do you feel anything for me? Or am I just an obligation? He was quiet for so long, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I've been in love with you since the day I watched you read poetry to your brother in the hospital while he recovered from appendicitis. You were 19. You read him Neruda for 3 hours straight, and you cried when you thought he was asleep. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. I've been in love with you for 9 years, Marcelline, and it's the most dangerous thing I've ever felt. The world stopped. You're lying. I'm not. You don't even talk to me. You avoid me. Because every time I look at you, I remember that I failed your brother, that you're only here because I couldn't save him, that you're in danger because of my world, my family, my failure. He reached up slowly, carefully, and brushed a strand of hair from my face. I married you to protect you. I stay away from you for the same reason. Because if Anton ever figures out what you really mean to me, you become the perfect weapon to destroy everything I've built. His hand was still in my hair, his thumb tracing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I should hate you, I whispered. You should. You should have told me the truth. I know. Anton is still here, still free, still... I'm going to kill him. The words were said so calmly, so matter-of-factly, that it took me a moment to process them. I've been building a case, gathering evidence, making sure that when he falls, he takes no one else with him. It's taken 3 years, but I'm close. Another month, maybe 2, and I'll have everything I need. And then what? Then you'll be free, truly free. You can leave, take your settlement, forget this world ever existed. Is that what you want? He pulled back, his expression shuddering. What I want doesn't matter. Lucian, you should get some sleep. We have a charity gala tomorrow night. You'll need to look the part of the happy wife. He left the room without another word, leaving me standing in the middle of his secrets, my heart pounding and my mind reeling. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat on the floor of the West Wing office, reading through every file, every report, every piece of evidence Lucian had collected. I read Noah's final text messages. I watched the video he'd taken, grainy, dark, but clear enough to show Anton's face as he pulled the trigger on a man whose name I'd never know. And I read Lucian's notes, pages and pages of them, meticulous and detailed, chronicling not just Anton's crimes, but his patterns, his connections, his weaknesses. There were financial records showing money laundering, witness statements from people Lucian had protected, even testimony from members of Lucian's own syndicate who were willing to turn on Anton. But one file caught my attention. It was labeled simply, E.H., Detective Aaron Hale. I opened it and found surveillance photos. Aaron meeting with Anton in parking garages and empty restaurants in places where they clearly didn't want to be seen. And paperwork, FBI paperwork, showing that Aaron had been feeding information to Anton for 4 years. She was dirty. The detective who'd investigated Noah's death, who'd looked me in the eye and told me my brother was just another junkie, was working for the man who'd killed him. I heard footsteps in the hallway and quickly shoved the file back into the desk. Sophia appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. You found it, she said simply. How long have you known? About your brother, since the beginning? About Lucian's feelings for you? She smiled faintly. Longer than he has. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't my secret to tell. And because... She moved into the room, picking up one of the photos of Noah. Because I wanted to see if you'd run. Most people would have. Most people would have taken one look at this world and gotten as far away as possible. I'm not most people. No, you're not. She set the photo down carefully. Which is why I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to really think about your answer. What? Do you want revenge? The question hung in the air between us. Did I want revenge? I'd spent 3 years thinking Noah's death was an accident, a stupid mistake, something senseless. Now I knew the truth. Now I knew there was someone to blame, someone who'd looked at my brother and decided he was disposable. Yes, I said quietly. Sophia nodded. Then I'm going to need you to trust me. Can you do that? I don't know. Fair enough. But here's what I can tell you. The gala tomorrow, it's not just a charity event, it's the opening move. Anton is going to be there, Aaron is going to be there, and if everything goes according to plan, by the end of the night, they'll both be finished. What do you need me to do? Exactly what Lucian tells you to do. Be the perfect wife. Smile, charm. Don't let Anton see that you know anything. She moved toward the door, then paused. And Marcy, whatever happens tomorrow night, stay close to Lucian, because Anton is going to make his move, and when he does, all hell is going to break loose. The day of the gala, I barely saw Lucian. He was locked in his study with Sophia and several men I didn't recognize, their voices low and urgent. Rosa brought me breakfast, lunch, and dinner on trays, always with an apologetic smile as if she knew what was coming and felt sorry for me. At 6 p.m., there was a knock on my bedroom door. Come in. A woman entered, elegant, professional, carrying several garment bags. Mrs. Draven, I'm here to help you prepare for this evening. I can dress myself. Mr. Draven insisted. Of course he did. She laid out the dress first. It was stunning, a deep emerald silk that caught the light like water, with a neckline that would show just enough without being improper. The kind of dress that cost more than I used to make in 6 months. The woman, whose name I never learned, did my hair in an elegant updo, my makeup subtle but sophisticated. When she finally stepped back, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. I looked like I belonged in Lucian's world. I hated how much I liked it. At 7:30, there was another knock. It's open. Lucian entered, and I heard his breath catch. He wore a black tuxedo that fit him like it had been made for his body, which it probably had. His hair was styled back, emphasizing the sharp angles of his face, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked almost nervous. You look beautiful, he said quietly. You clean up pretty well yourself. He moved closer, pulling a jewelry box from his pocket. This was my mother's. I want you to wear it tonight. Inside was a necklace, an emerald pendant surrounded by diamonds, hanging from a delicate platinum chain. It was probably worth more than my father's house. Lucian, I can't, please. Something in his voice made me turn around. His fingers were gentle as he fastened the clasp, his breath warm against my neck. For a moment, we stayed like that, and I could feel the tension radiating off him. Whatever happens tonight, he said softly, I need you to know that everything I've done to protect you. You keep saying that, because it's true. He stepped back, and when I turned around, his expression was back to its usual careful blankness. There are going to be people at this gala who will try to talk to you, to ask you questions about me, about us, about what you know. I need you to be vague. Smile. Play the part of the new wife who's still learning her husband's world. I can do that. And if Anton tries to separate you from me, I'll scream bloody murder and cause a scene. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. That works too. The car ride to the gala was silent. Lucian stared out the window, his jaw tight, his hands clenched. I wanted to ask what he was thinking, what the plan was, why he looked like a man going to war. But I didn't. The gala was being held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the entire Temple of Dender wing rented out for the evening. We arrived to a sea of photographers, flashing cameras, people in designer clothes ascending the stairs like it was the Oscars. Lucian helped me out of the car, his hand warm and steady on mine. And then we were walking up those stairs together, his arm around my waist, and I realized this was the first time we'd touched in public, the first time he'd claimed me as his wife for the world to see. The cameras went insane. Mr. Draven! Mr. Draven! Who's your date? Is this the mysterious wife we've heard about? Mrs. Draven, look over here! Lucian didn't pause, didn't acknowledge them. He guided me through the crowd with practiced ease, and I noticed how people moved out of his way. Not obviously, but subtly, like a tide receding from the shore. Inside, the museum had been transformed into something from a fairy tale. The reflecting pool glowed with floating candles, casting dancing shadows on the ancient Egyptian temple. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. A string quartet played in one corner while New York's elite mingled and laughed and pretended they weren't all secretly trying to climb over each other. Lucian Draven. We both turned. A man approached. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of face that had been handsome once, but was now just calculating. I heard rumors you'd finally taken a wife. I had to see it to believe it. Marcus, Lucian's voice was cold. Still laundering money through your art galleries, I see. Marcus laughed, but his eyes went to me. And who is this lovely creature? My wife, Marcelline. Charming. Tell me, my dear, how does one catch the interest of New York's most eligible bachelor? I asked nicely, I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Lucian's hand tightened on my waist, whether in warning or approval, I couldn't tell. We moved through the crowd, and I started to understand this wasn't just a charity gala. It was a gathering of criminals. Drug dealers and money launderers and corrupt politicians all dressed in designer clothes and pretending to care about underprivileged children or whatever cause this event was supposedly supporting, and they all feared Lucian. There's someone you should meet, he said quietly, guiding me toward a woman standing alone by the temple entrance. She was beautiful in a hard way, sharp features, calculating eyes, dark hair pulled back severely. She wore a simple black dress and no jewelry, and somehow she looked more dangerous than anyone else in the room. Marcelline, Lucian said, this is Detective Erin Hale. My blood ran cold. Erin smiled, extending her hand. Mrs. Draven, I've heard so much about you. I shook her hand, feeling like I was touching a snake. Detective, are you here for work or pleasure? Oh, the NYPD loves to support the arts. Her smile didn't waver. Though I have to admit, I'm curious. How did you and Lucian meet? It's such a whirlwind romance. We met through mutual friends, I said vaguely. Interesting, because I could have sworn I'd seen you before. 3 years ago, maybe? At the station house? Her eyes glittered with something ugly. Your brother's case, wasn't it? Lucian's hand was a vice on my waist now. My brother died of an overdose, I said carefully, or that's what you told me. Addiction is a terrible thing. You never really know what someone's hiding, do you? I wanted to throw my champagne in her face. I wanted to scream that I knew she was dirty, that I knew she'd helped cover up Noah's murder, that she was standing here lying to my face about my own brother. Instead, I smiled. No, you really don't. Something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe, or suspicion. Before she could respond, a voice called out, Brother! Anton appeared through the crowd, charming as ever, with a blonde woman on his arm. He looked delighted to see us like we were old friends reuniting. Marcy, you look absolutely stunning. He kissed my cheek, and I had to force myself not to recoil. Have you met my date? This is Simone. She's a model. Simone smiled vacantly and said nothing. Detective Hale, Anton continued smoothly. Always a pleasure. Still chasing shadows? Still hoping to catch them, Erin replied with false sweetness. The four of them, Lucian, Anton, Erin, and me, stood in an awkward circle while Simone examined her nails. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Well, Anton said brightly, we should mingle. Simone, darling, let me introduce you to some people. He paused, looking at me. Actually, Marcy, I was hoping to steal a dance later, if my brother doesn't mind sharing. I mind, Lucian said flatly. Anton laughed. Possessive already? You've only been married a few weeks. 3 weeks, Lucian said, and I don't share. The way he said it sent a shiver down my spine. There was a threat buried in those words, one only Anton seemed to catch. His smile tightened slightly. Of course. Family first, right, brother? Always. They stared at each other for a long moment, and I realized I was watching two predators circling, waiting for the other to make the first move. Then Anton smiled again, all charm and light, and led Simone away. Erin excused herself shortly after, claiming she needed to check in with the precinct. And suddenly, Lucian and I were alone in the crowd. "He knows something," I whispered. "He's been suspicious for weeks. Tonight is when we find out how much." Lucian guided me towards the edge of the room, where Sophia stood talking to a group of businessmen. When she saw us, she excused herself smoothly. "Everything's in place," she said quietly. "The servers have been briefed, the exits are covered, and I've got 3 teams monitoring the security feeds." "Good." Lucian's expression was grim. "What about—" "Done. He took the bait, should be making his move within the hour." I looked between them. What bait? What move? Sophia glanced at Lucian, who nodded slightly. "We leaked information," she explained, "that Lucian has the video of your brother's murder in his office safe. We made sure Anton would hear about it through channels he trusts. If he's guilty, he'll try to destroy it," I finished. "He already has people at the house," Lucian said, "breaking into my safe as we speak. What they'll find is a dummy video and a very sophisticated tracking device that will lead us to everyone in Anton's network. But the real video is somewhere much safer." He touched the necklace at my throat. "The emerald is hollow. The video is on a chip inside. You've been wearing the evidence all night." My hand flew to the necklace. "You're using me as insurance. If anything happens to me tonight, Sophia knows to get you out. She'll take you to the FBI, the real FBI, not Erin's corrupt division. You'll testify, and Anton will go to prison for the rest of his life. And if nothing happens to you," his jaw tightened, "then we finish this, tonight." A commotion near the entrance drew our attention. Anton was arguing with someone, a man in a suit I didn't recognize. Even from across the room, I could see Anton's face was red, his movements agitated. "That's his tech guy," Sophia murmured. "Probably calling to tell him they can't crack the safe." "Or that they found the tracking device," Lucian said. "Either way." Anton's gaze swept the room and locked onto Lucian. For a second, his charming mask slipped, and I saw something ugly underneath. Then he was moving toward us with purpose. "We need to talk," Anton said when he reached us, not bothering with pleasantries. "Privately. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of my wife. This is syndicate business. She's family now. She stays." Anton's eyes flicked to me, and I saw calculation there. "Fine, the roof terrace. 5 minutes." He walked away before Lucian could respond. "It's a trap," I said immediately. "Obviously. Then don't go." "I have to. This is the end game, Marcelline. This is what we've been waiting for." He turned to Sophia. "You know what to do?" "I've got it covered." Lucian looked at me, and for a moment his careful mask cracked. "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" I thought about everything I'd learned, about the lies and the secrets and the 3 years of surveillance, about my brother and the video and this necklace that suddenly felt impossibly heavy around my throat. But I also thought about the way he'd looked at me in his office. The raw honesty when he'd said he loved me. The fact that he'd spent 3 years trying to avenge a man he'd never met because that man had died asking him to protect me. "Yes, I said. "I trust you." Something in his expression softened. Then he leaned down and kissed me. It was our first kiss. In 3 weeks of marriage, 3 weeks of living together, 3 weeks of carefully maintained distance. This was the first time his lips touched mine, and it felt like falling. He pulled back too soon, his forehead resting against mine for just a moment. "If anything goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, you run. You find Sophia and you run and you don't look back. Promise me. Lucian, promise me, Marcelline. I promise." He kissed me once more, quick and hard, then straightened his tie and walked toward the stairs that led to the roof terrace. I watched him go, my heart in my throat. Sophia touched my arm. "Come on, we need to get into position." "What position?" "He told me to run if things go wrong. And he told me to make sure you're close enough to help if things go right." She smiled grimly. "Lucian's good, but Anton's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things, and we need to be ready for the stupid." She led me through a side door I hadn't noticed into a service corridor that was definitely not meant for guests. We climbed a narrow staircase, Sophia moving with the confidence of someone who'd planned this route carefully. How long have you been planning this? I asked. 3 years, since the night your brother died. We emerged into another corridor, this one with windows overlooking the roof terrace. Lucian's been playing the long game, building evidence, cutting off Anton's allies, making sure that when we move, it's decisive. Why wait so long? Because Anton is smart. Reckless sometimes, but smart. We needed him to make a mistake, to get overconfident. She positioned me by a window where I could see the terrace clearly. We needed him to think he was winning. Below, I could see Lucian stepping onto the roof terrace. It was empty except for some decorative plants and heating lamps. No exits except the stairs. A killing box. A moment later, Anton appeared. Sophia pulled out her phone and suddenly I could hear them. She'd somehow tapped into the terrace microphones. Really didn't think I'd figure it out, Anton was saying. Your fake video, your tracking device? Sloppy, brother. Very sloppy. Is it? Lucian's voice was calm. Or is it exactly what I wanted you to find? Anton laughed, but it sounded forced. Always so confident, even when you're cornered. I'm not cornered, Anton. You are. Really? Because from where I'm standing, I have 6 men positioned around this museum. One word from me and they start shooting. Your precious wife will be the first to go. My blood ran cold. Lucian's expression didn't change. You won't touch her. Won't I? She's the perfect leverage. Kill her, blame it on some random shooting, and watch you fall apart. Anton pulled out a gun, small, easily concealed, deadly. It's poetic, really. I killed her brother, now I kill her. The Duvall family seems determined to get in my way. Noah didn't get in your way. He witnessed you committing murder. Details. Anton waved the gun dismissively. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, just like you are now. You're forgetting something, Lucian said quietly. What's that? I'm not alone. Suddenly, the terrace was flooded with light. Men appeared from seemingly nowhere, from behind the planters, from the shadows, from the stairwell behind Anton, all of them armed, all of them pointed at Anton. Anton spun, his gun swinging wildly. You bastard! Drop it, Lucian said, his voice cold as ice. It's over, Anton! The FBI has everything, every transaction, every murder, every dirty cop on your payroll, including Detective Hale. As if summoned, Erin burst onto the terrace, her own gun drawn, but she wasn't pointing it at Anton. She was pointing it at Lucian. Nobody moves, she shouted. Sophia cursed. That's not supposed to happen. My heart stopped. Below, Lucian raised his hand slowly, his men uncertain whether to shoot. Detective Hale, Lucian said calmly, I had hoped you'd make the smart choice. The smart choice is surviving. Anton promised me protection, a new identity, money. She moved closer to Anton, her gun still trained on Lucian. All I have to do is make sure you don't leave this terrace alive. And you trust him? Lucian asked. The man who kills everyone who knows his secrets? I have insurance, Erin said. Anton smiled, cold and triumphant. See, brother, I always have a contingency plan. So do I, Lucian said, and then he looked directly at the window where I was standing. I saw his lips move, though I couldn't hear the words. Now. Sophia grabbed my arm. Time to go. What? Go where? To save your idiot husband. She dragged me back down the stairs, moving fast. We burst out onto the main gallery floor, and suddenly, all hell broke loose. Men in FBI jackets flooded into the museum from every entrance. Real FBI, I realized, not Erin's people. The guests screamed and scattered, and Sophia was pulling me towards the terrace stairs. What are you doing? I shouted over the chaos. Lucian needs the video, the real one. He was stalling until the FBI arrived, but Erin's presence changes things. We need physical evidence or she'll claim Lucian threatened her, that Anton was innocent. The necklace, I said, understanding. But why me? Why not just bring it yourself? Sophia's expression was grim. Because if I go up there, Anton shoots me on sight. But you? You're his leverage. He won't shoot you, not immediately, and that hesitation is all we need. We reached the terrace stairs. I could hear shouting above, the sharp crack of a gunshot that made my heart stop. Sophia pulled out a gun and handed it to me. You know how to use this? No. Point and shoot. Safety's already off. She started up the stairs. And Marcy, whatever happens up there, don't hesitate. These men will kill you without thinking twice. We burst onto the terrace together. The scene was chaos. Lucian was down on one knee, blood spreading across his shoulder. His men were in a standoff with Erin, who still had her gun trained on him. And Anton stood behind her, smiling like he'd already won. Then Anton saw me. Marcelline! He looked delighted. Perfect timing. Come here, darling. Let's show my brother what happens to people who betray family. Don't move, Lucian growled, his face pale but his eyes focused on me. Don't go near him. I ignored him. I walked forward slowly, the gun Sophia had given me hidden in the folds of my dress. That's it, Anton cooed. Come closer. I promise I'll make it quick. Erin shifted nervously. Anton, maybe we should... Shut up! He grabbed my arm when I got close enough, yanking me against him. His gun pressed against my temple, cold and hard. Drop your weapons, all of you, or I paint the terrace with her brains. Lucian's men hesitated, looking to him for orders. Do it, Lucian said hoarsely. Put them down! Lucian, no! Sophia started. Now! One by one, the guns hit the ground with dull thuds. Anton laughed, pressing his gun harder against my head. See how easy that was? You should have just given me the syndicate, brother. Would have saved everyone a lot of trouble. The syndicate was never yours to take, Lucian said, struggling to stand. You're reckless, violent. You would have destroyed everything our father built. Our father was weak, just like you, with your rules and your honor and your pathetic attempt to be noble. He shook me slightly. Starting with marrying this nobody. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't recognize her from her brother's photos? What are you talking about? I managed to say. Oh, sweetheart, you really don't know, do you? Anton's breath was hot against my ear. Your brother didn't just witness a murder, he was working for me. Running drugs, making drops. He was my employee for 6 months before he got stupid and tried to record me. No, that couldn't be true. Noah wouldn't... You're lying, I whispered. Am I? Ask your husband. Ask him what Noah was really doing the night he died. I looked at Lucian. His face was carefully blank, but he wasn't denying it. Noah needed money, Lucian said finally. Anton recruited him, promised him enough to pay for culinary school. By the time Noah realized what he'd gotten into, he was in too deep. He tried to get out, Anton continued, clearly enjoying himself. Came to me, all teary-eyed and apologetic, said he wanted to quit. I said fine, but then he saw me kill that rat from the Morello family, and I couldn't let him leave knowing that. My brother, my kind, gentle brother who'd raised me after Mom died, who'd worked 2 jobs to keep us fed, who'd dreamed of being a chef. Anton had trapped him, used him, murdered him, and I was close enough to do something about it. So here we are, Anton said. Full circle. I killed him, and now I'll kill you, and my brother gets to watch it all happen just like he watched Noah bleed out in that alley. I moved. Everything Sophia had taught me in 30 seconds of instruction, everything I'd learned working at a trauma clinic with self-defense training, every ounce of rage and grief I'd carried for 3 years, all of it came together in one moment. I dropped my weight suddenly, making Anton stumble. The gun fired, but the shot went wild, shattering one of the heating lamps. I twisted, pulling the gun from my dress, and fired blindly. The recoil nearly knocked me over, but I hit him. Anton staggered back, clutching his leg, his own gun clattering to the ground. Erin started to turn her weapon on me, but Sophia was already moving. She tackled the detective, and they went down in a tangle of limbs and cursing. Lucian's men surged forward, grabbing Anton before he could recover. And then Lucian was there, pulling me against him despite his wounded shoulder, despite the blood and the chaos and the FBI agents swarming onto the terrace. Are you hurt? He demanded, his hands running over me, checking for wounds. Are you? I'm fine. You're the one who got shot. Barely a graze. You're bleeding everywhere. I've had worse. We were both babbling, neither of us making sense, and then I was laughing and crying at the same time, the gun slipping from my numb fingers. I killed your brother, I said numbly. You shot him in the leg. He'll live to stand trial. Lucian cupped my face in his hands, forcing me to look at him. You saved my life. You saved mine first. We're even then, not even close. And then I was kissing him, properly this time. Not a strategic kiss for the cameras or a goodbye kiss before a confrontation. A real kiss, desperate and alive and full of everything I hadn't let myself feel for 3 weeks. When we finally pulled apart, Sophia was standing over Aaron with a satisfied expression. Anton was in handcuffs, screaming threats that no one was listening to, and FBI agents were everywhere, securing the scene, taking statements, photographing evidence. Mrs. Draven, one of them said, approaching carefully, we're going to need that necklace. I'd forgotten I was wearing it. The evidence that would put Anton away forever, hanging around my neck like it weighed nothing. I unclasped it carefully and handed it over. Take care of it. It's the last thing my brother gave the world. The agent nodded solemnly and walked away. Lucian wrapped his good arm around me, and we stood there in the wreckage of his brother's empire, watching as everything finally came to an end. What happens now? I asked. Now the FBI takes over, Anton goes to prison, Aaron goes to prison, everyone in Anton's network gets rolled up. He paused. And you get your freedom. Per our contract, you can leave whenever you want. I looked up at him. His face was pale from blood loss, his expensive tuxedo ruined, his hair falling into his eyes. He looked like he'd been through a war. He looked perfect. What if I don't want to leave? Something flickered in his expression. Hope, maybe, or fear. Marcelline, you said you've been in love with me for 9 years. Did you mean it? Yes. And you married me to protect me, not just as an obligation, but because you care. More than I should. Then you're stuck with me. I grabbed his lapels, pulling him closer despite his wince of pain. Because I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in your cold mansion with your locked doors and your criminal empire. I'm staying because my brother trusted you. And because somewhere between the secrets and the lies and the chaos, I fell in love with you too. His expression transformed, the careful blankness shattering into something raw and real and devastating. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Probably not. But you're mine anyway. He kissed me again, softer this time, like he was sealing a promise. Around us, the FBI worked. Sophia called out orders. Paramedics arrived to treat Lucian's shoulder, and somewhere in the museum below, I could almost feel Noah watching, could almost hear him saying what he'd always said when I made stupid, impulsive, dangerous decisions. That's my sister. Epilogue. 3 months later, I woke up to sunlight streaming through windows that were no longer covered by heavy curtains. The mansion had changed in 3 months. The West Wing was now a memorial. Noah's photos on the walls, his favorite books on the shelves, a space to remember him that didn't hurt quite as much as it used to. The staff smiled now. Rosa sang while she cooked. Marcus had started teaching me Italian recipes, claiming my brother would have wanted me to know them. And Lucian had changed most of all. He still worked late sometimes, still had business I didn't always want to know about, but he came to bed every night now. He kissed me goodbye in the mornings. He'd stopped treating me like something fragile and started treating me like his partner, his equal, his wife in more than just name. You're awake, he said from the doorway, carrying a tray with coffee and pastries. I was hoping to surprise you. I'm very surprised. You cooked? Rosa cooked. I carried. It's a team effort. He set the tray on the bedside table and kissed me, tasting like toothpaste and coffee. What's the occasion? I asked. Anton's trial starts today. I thought you might need... He paused, uncertain. I don't know. Support. I pulled him down to sit beside me. I have you. That's all the support I need. We'd been to dozens of depositions over the past 3 months. I'd told Noah's story so many times I could recite it in my sleep. But today was different. Today, Anton would stand in front of a judge and hear exactly what he'd destroyed. I should hate him, I said quietly. But mostly I just feel tired. That's normal. Is it? Because I keep thinking, what if Noah had just told me? What if I'd known he was in trouble? Could I have? No. Lucian's voice was firm. You couldn't have saved him. Anton made his choice. Noah made his. The only person responsible for Noah's death is the man going to trial today. I knew he was right. My therapist, yes, I had a therapist now, because trauma was trauma and I was finally dealing with it, said the same thing. But knowing and believing were different things. Come with me, Lucian said suddenly. There's something I want to show you. He led me downstairs, through the house, to the library. The morning sun made everything golden, and for a moment, I could almost forget the darkness this place had held. On the table was a folder. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside were architectural plans. A building, modern, spacious, with large kitchens and training spaces and what looked like classrooms. I don't understand. It's a culinary school, Lucian said. For underprivileged youth. Full scholarships, job placement, mentorship. I'm funding it. In Noah's name. My throat tightened. Lucian, he wanted to be a chef. He wanted to teach. This way, he still can. He touched my hand gently. I can't bring him back. But maybe I can make sure his dream lives on. That other kids who need a chance get one. I was crying now, couldn't help it. I love you. I love you too. He pulled me close, and I breathed in his scent, cedar and smoke and home. And Marcelline, I know these 3 months have been hard, the testimony, the press, the trial, but I need you to know something. What? I don't regret any of it. Not marrying you, not bringing you into this world, not any of the chaos that came with it. He pulled back to look at me, his gray eyes intense. Because at the end of it all, I have you, and that's worth everything. Later, we sat in the courthouse gallery, watching as Anton was led in, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his charming smile finally gone. Erin sat at her own defense table, looking small and defeated. The evidence was overwhelming. The video, financial records, testimony from dozens of witnesses who'd finally found the courage to speak. Sophia sat in the row behind us, her expression satisfied as the prosecution laid out their case. Anton's lawyer tried to argue self-defense, mistaken identity, a dozen different excuses that fell flat against the mountain of evidence. When the prosecutor showed the video, grainy but clear, showing Anton pulling the trigger on that nameless man, showing Noah in the background with his phone raised, the courtroom went silent. I didn't look away. I owed Noah that much. The defendant didn't just commit murder, the prosecutor said, her voice ringing through the courtroom. He committed a conspiracy to cover up that murder. He killed Noah Duvall, a 25-year-old aspiring chef, simply because Noah witnessed his crime. He corrupted a police detective, obstructed justice, and attempted to murder multiple witnesses, including his own brother. Anton stared straight ahead, his jaw clenched. But I saw it. The moment he finally realized he'd lost. The moment the reality hit him that he'd destroyed everything for nothing. The trial lasted 3 weeks. We attended every day. Lucian sat beside me, his hand in mine, as witness after witness told their stories. People Anton had threatened, people he'd hurt, families he'd destroyed. On the final day, the jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. On the count of murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant? Guilty. On the count of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. On the count of witness tampering? Guilty. Every count, every single one. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. Erin got 20 years for corruption and accessory to murder. When the bailiffs led Anton away, he looked at Lucian one last time, not with anger, but with something that might have been regret. Lucian stared back, his expression unreadable. Then Anton was gone, and it was truly over. We left the courthouse through a side exit, avoiding the press. Sophia had a car waiting, and we drove in silence for a while, the city passing by outside the windows. How do you feel? Lucian asked finally. I thought about it. Lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy for 3 years and finally put it down. Good. But also sad, because none of this brings Noah back. None of this changes what happened. No, he agreed quietly. It doesn't. That night, We stood on the terrace, looking out over the grounds, the same terrace where everything had nearly ended, where I'd shot Anton, where the FBI had swarmed in and torn apart a criminal empire. Now it was just a terrace, beautiful and calm and ordinary. I have something for you, Lucian said, pulling a small box from his pocket. You already gave me a ridiculously expensive necklace. This is different. Inside the box was a key. What's this for? I asked. The West Wing. I'm taking down the lock. No more secrets, Marcelline. No more locked doors between us. He took my hand. Everything I am, everything I have, it's yours. Completely. No conditions, no contracts, no exit clauses. I looked at the key, feeling the weight of what it represented. Trust, openness. A real marriage, not one built on necessity and protection. What about the syndicate? I asked. Your business? I'm transitioning out. Sophia is taking over most operations. I'm keeping the legitimate holdings, the real estate, the investments, but the rest? He shook his head. I've spent my whole life in this world. I thought it was all I knew, but you've shown me there's another way to live. Lucian, you don't have to give up everything for me. I'm not giving it up. I'm choosing something better. He pulled me close, his arms warm and solid around me. I'm choosing you. Choosing us. Choosing a life where I don't have to worry that every decision might get you killed. What will you do instead? Help run the culinary school I'm starting in Noah's name? Invest in programs that give people chances they wouldn't otherwise have? Use the money I've made to actually do some good in the world? I kissed him softly. He would have loved that. I hope so. We stood there as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors, and I thought about the journey that had brought us here, the fear and the lies and the danger. The moment I'd gotten into that car at midnight, selling myself for my father's life. If someone had told me then where I'd end up, married to a man I loved, free from the shadows that had chased me for 3 years, I wouldn't have believed them. But life had a funny way of surprising you. Sometimes you marry the monster, and sometimes the monster becomes your salvation. 1 year later, my father died on a Tuesday morning in spring, with his new heart still beating strong. It wasn't the transplant that killed him. That had been successful, giving him 2 more years of life than he should have had. It was simply time. His body, worn down by decades of hard work and hard living, decided it was done. He went peacefully, in his sleep, in the care facility Lucian had arranged for him. At the funeral, I stood between Lucian and my father's sister, my only remaining family besides my husband. And I wasn't sad. My father had lived to see me married, had lived to see me happy, had lived long enough to tell me he was proud of me. That was enough. He was a good man, Lucian said quietly as they lowered the casket. He was, not perfect, but good. I leaned against him. Later that evening, we stood in the West Wing, now transformed into something lighter. The crime scene photos were gone, replaced by happy memories. A few pictures of Noah remained, but the room no longer felt like a shrine to death. It felt like remembrance, like peace. I have news, I said carefully. Lucian looked at me. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. Marcelline. I took his hand and placed it on my stomach. We're pregnant. He went completely still. Say something, I urged. He swallowed hard. Are you sure? Confirmed by 3 tests and a doctor, about 8 weeks. A laugh burst out of him, pure joy, unfiltered. I'm going to be a father. You're going to be a father. He pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was made of glass. I don't know how to do this. What if I... You won't fail. You're already better than you think. I pulled back to look at him. You're kind. You're protective. You believe in second chances. You're exactly the kind of father any child would be lucky to have. Our child, he said, wonder in his voice. We're having a child. We are, a little piece of you and me. He kissed me, then, soft and reverent, his hand still on my stomach like he could protect our child through sheer force of will. They'll have a good life, Lucian promised. Safe, loved, everything we didn't have. Everything we've built together. 5 years later, Mommy, can we have pasta for dinner? I looked down at my daughter, 4 years old with Lucian's gray eyes and my stubborn chin, and smiled. We can have whatever you want, baby. Lucian stood nearby, our 2-year-old son on his hip, laughing at something Sophia was saying. He looked up and caught my eye, smiling in that way that still made my heart skip. 5 years married, 2 children, a life built from ashes and secrets and impossible choices. We'd come so far from that night in the restaurant when he'd offered me a devil's bargain, when I'd sold myself for my father's life and thought I was making the worst decision of my existence. Instead, I'd found my home. My daughter tugged at my hand. Mommy, are you happy? Very happy, sweetheart. The happiest I've ever been. And it was true. Lucian came over, our son reaching for me. He transferred the boy to my arms, and suddenly I was holding both of our children, surrounded by the family we'd created from nothing. Ready to go home? Lucian asked. Always. We drove home to our mansion that was finally, truly ours. No secrets, no locked doors, no shadows lurking in corners. Just a family. Imperfect and complicated, but ours. That night, after the children were asleep, Lucian and I stood on the terrace where everything had changed, where I'd shot his brother, where our real life had begun. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly, saying yes to me that night. I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I said finally. I regret a lot of things about how we got here, but regret marrying you? I turned to face him fully. Never, not even once, not even on the worst days. Even though I lied to you? Even though. Because you lied to protect me. Because every decision you made thinking about my safety. I took his hand. You could have told me the truth from the beginning. And I probably would have run. And Anton would have killed me within a week. So, no, I don't regret that you lied. I'm alive because of those lies. He pulled me close, and we stood there under the stars, 2 broken people who'd somehow made each other whole. I love you, he whispered, more than I thought I could ever love anything. I love you too. My husband, my partner, my home. Inside the house, one of the children cried out. A nightmare, probably. We both moved automatically, parents now before anything else, ready to comfort and protect and love. This was our life, built on tragedy but sustained by hope, born from darkness but living in light. I'd married the Mafia boss and regretted it, until I didn't, until he became the best decision I'd ever made, until he became my everything. And that was worth all of it. The end. If you enjoyed Marcelline and Lucian's twisted love story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us and gives us the encouragement to keep bringing you more captivating stories like this one. Drop a comment below and let us know what you thought. Did you see the twists coming? What was your favorite moment? We love hearing from you, and your feedback helps us create even better stories. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.